It begins in a small, forgotten village surrounded by a dense forest, where the locals fear walking after dark. Legend has it that something roams the woods, something not of this world. Something that watches, waits, and chooses its next victim. A young journalist, Peter, who writes about paranormal phenomena, decides to uncover the truth behind these stories. Upon arriving in the village, he finds the people strange, quiet, and unwilling to talk about the forest. The only one who is willing to speak is an old woman named Agatha. She tells him about the curse of the forest and that anyone who has entered after nightfall has never returned. Peter doesn't believe her and decides to enter the forest with his camera. As he walks along the narrow forest path, the air grows colder and the night seems thicker than it should be. In the distance, he hears whispers coming from all directions. At times, he thinks he sees movement in the shadows, but whenever he turns around, there is nothing. Hours later, he finds an abandoned cabin. The door is slightly ajar, as if inviting him inside. Inside, he finds old journals and photographs of people whose names are carved into the walls. Some names are crossed out. Suddenly, there is a soft knock on the door. Peter freezes. The door slowly creaks open, and a figure cloaked in darkness steps inside. Its eyes gleam like embers in the night. Peter tries to scream, but his voice fails him. The figure moves closer, and when its hand touches his shoulder, an inexplicable cold spreads through him. His camera screen flickers, and in the reflection of the lens, he sees himself, but different. His doppelganger smiles a sinister smile. As Peter tries to escape, everything blurs. The world around him shifts. He is no longer in the forest, but in the village, or rather, a distorted version of it. The houses are abandoned, the streets empty. In the distance, he hears Agatha's voice. But when he turns, he sees her hanging from a tree, her eyes glassy. Peter starts to scream, but no one hears him. No one sees him. Except for a single figure in the distance, his own doppelganger, smiling and slowly walking toward him. Peter realizes the terrible truth. He has become one of the legends of this place. He will never leave, and outside, in the real world, on that same day, a new name is carved into the wall of the abandoned cabin. Peter crossed out. Peter remembers Agatha's words. There is no escape. Only exchange. The terrifying realization grips his chest. Everyone who has fallen into this trap could only escape if they brought another soul in their place. Peter spends days wandering the village, battling his own conscience. The thought of sacrificing someone else is unimaginable. But as the days pass and he grows weaker, his resolve begins to crack. Then he sees him, a man who has wandered into the village. Peter doesn't know if he is a tourist or another seeker of mysteries, but in that moment, he is Peter's only hope for freedom. With trembling hands, he approaches the man and calls out to him, "Please help me." The man turns, looking confused but stepping closer. Peter realizes that he knows him. It's another journalist who has written about the same legends. The girl's words echo in his mind. Only exchange, and then it happens. The village dissolves, and Peter finds himself outside, back in the real world. But when he looks at the cabin, he sees a new name carved into the wood, his friend's name crossed out. Peter is free, but something is wrong. He feels the cold spreading through his veins. His hands are paler than he remembers. When he reaches a mirror in the city, his reflection is different. His eyes are darker, the shadows on his face deeper. His doppelganger didn't smile for the last time. At night, he hears whispers. He thought he had escaped, but the village is inside him, and sooner or later, it will come for him again. Peter tries to ignore the strange sounds, but the whispers grow louder. Every night, he wakes up with the feeling that someone is standing over his bed. He starts losing track of reality. Are these just hallucinations? Or is something truly watching him, even in this world? One evening, as he struggles to sleep, his phone vibrates. An unknown number. He answers, but there is only silence until he hears his own voice. There is no escape, only exchange. Peter drops the phone in terror, trying to convince himself it was just his imagination. But something moves in the corner of the room. Something tall, dark, with eyes glowing in the shadows. He begins to understand that he is still trapped. The village never let him go in the mirror. His doppelganger appears again, but this time it does not smile. It speaks in a slow, rasping voice. It's time. His apartment door creaks open. A cold wind seeps in from the hallway. Peter knows he has no choice. He must return. He must find another to take his place, or become part of the village forever. Peter wakes up in a new body. But this time, it's different. He is not alone. Something inside him is growing, something foreign, dark. He is becoming part of the legend. And when he looks into the mirror, he sees someone else, another victim, who has no idea what awaits them. And so, the story never ends. Everyone who enters the trap eventually succumbs. The village grows. And you? If you've heard this far, maybe it has already noticed you.